Here we are, everyone. Welcome to another incredible episode of Coach Magic. You are in for a treat today because we have the amazing Tracy Viola. Am I saying the last name right, Tracy? Is it Tracy?
Yes.
Okay, Tracy Viola is in the house. And we have an incredible conversation in store for you today. Let me tell you a bit about Tracy, and then we are diving in. Tracy was born on Philadelphia's Main Line, where she still resides with her husband, 2 daughters, and her calico cat, Olivia. Tracy, I'm also a cat lover. And I don't even know I can say cat owner because I think the cat owns me. I know you get that, right? Tracy holds... Right. She holds a BA from Villanova and a master's degree in counseling psychology from Temple University. Many years ago, almost 20 years ago, right, Tracy? 2006, she started her own consulting company, TEV Consulting. And she has, and this is a big part of our conversation today, she's been continuously sober since 1996, February. So you've just passed over an anniversary, Tracy. She's been a sought after speaker by schools and recovery centers. And her memoir, Pretty Wrecked, Confessions of a Teen Addict and a Road to Recovery, was published last year. I read the book. Here it is, everyone. And this is a big piece of what we're going to be talking about today, because I too am a fellow sober woman. And it's so great to speak to somebody who... You've been on the road longer than me, Tracy. You've learned a lot. And I know our conversation today is going to cover some important ground. So first off, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I love talking about sobriety, recovery, life, womaning, working, all the above.
Yeah, exactly.
Talking about it in a real way, right?
Talking about it in a real way. So, well, let's go back. So what inspired you to write this book? Because it is not easy to write a book. I've done it.
I don't think if you're like me, I will never have another book in my hand without having immense respect for every word and decision and heartache that went with it. So yes, it is not easy to write. What inspired me actually was going through COVID and coming out on the other side. I actually, 24 years sober. So 24 years sober, COVID happened. And I realized how delicate recovery is still. Because once all of my resources and tricks and people and all the things that kind of are part of my recovery and sobriety were kind of taken from me, I was really raw, and living in this kind of very scary, very unknown reality. And what was everyone, I don't know what everyone around you, but I can tell you what everyone was doing around me. They pretty much noon on, and it really was difficult. I was surprised. I think what it did was it surprised me. I think I had, for a long period of time, taken my recovery kind of for granted. Like I was in the group. I just didn't even think about it until it came to like a screeching halt. And then I was like, oh, I am so lucky and so to have this sobriety. And I almost forgot about it. And I guess COVID reminded me that. And really what motivated me to write the book, because I thought there are so many people out there that are not sober or have family members, have experience. I don't know if anyone's in touch in some way by alcoholism, drug addiction, or mental health issue in their family. And I just felt like I had this gift that I almost forgot about that was reignited. I was like, I really need to share this. And so the book came about.
So good. That was one of the gifts of COVID, right? Where everything stood still. We didn't have our regular go-tos. You weren't going to this event and that event and this gathering, and you face yourself. And I think, thank you for sharing kind of what was going on in your area. I remember for myself at that time, I was really grateful I was sober too, because I knew if I wasn't, that'd probably be what I would be doing too. But you have your kids are all home, and my kids had been homeschooled prior to COVID, so that wasn't new. And so I felt for parents, especially who were in that situation where all of a sudden your kids are not at school anymore, and you're like, holy crap, and you're trying to work and help them get educated and maintain your sanity. And I can understand how things would go south really fast because it just is so stressful. And plus, felt like the world was kind of ending. And so you turn to a crutch. And for many people, and I speak from my own history with alcohol, it was a crutch. It was definitely a numbing technique. For me, also, it was like a social lubricant. It was a way for me to have less social anxiety, because I realize now, like, oh, that's what it was for me. I felt more confident, or I thought I felt more confident. Actually, I didn't, because then all the anxiety kicks in, and it's like you start deconstructing what alcohol has been for your life. But I'm so grateful. Yeah, I'm so grateful that you decided, hey, I'm going to write this book, and the stories that you have inside of you are not meant to be yours alone, because the stories taught you lessons. And you did a great job of really capturing those lessons. Y'all, Tracy's a really good writer. And I say that like with all sincerity, because some books are like not, I mean, yes, you can appreciate the book. It's like you can appreciate a movie, and if the movie's not that great, because the movie was not easy to make. I took a film course when I lived in New York. It's called Movies 101 at NYU. We did like 3 semesters, not for credit, you just for fun. It was like an adult learning. And I have such immense respect for movies and films, even the crappy ones, because that was hard. That was really the same as this. But my point is, your writing is quite captivating. You're funny. You have a wonderful way of describing things and taking you into the moment and the experience. It's raw, and you don't hold back. Like, you're super honest. So how has sobriety for you and recovery helped you become more honest?
So I would say that I'd say those are kind of the pillars of my recovery: responsibility and honesty. Mm-hmm. And I really believe in my life, my sobriety, my marriage, my parenting, my job, my TV consulting, comes down to responsibility and honesty. And, and that's what I say to my kids all the time is you'll hear figure it out as often as you hear I love you. Because you need to figure it out. You need to be responsible for yourself. You need to like get back up and figure it out. And that's what recovery really taught me, was to be honest and directly honest and quick honest. You know, I mean, for me personally, I got sober of AA. That's what worked for me. I was 19. So like, also keep that in mind, right? I was 19 years old when I was into recovery. I had to do. So you can read this in the book, but it was really the choice between, I was homeless because of drugs and alcohol. So it became, do you want to die or do you want to live? And that was the decision I had to make. And the first thing I did was responsibility for my actions and the way I responded to really awful life situations through numbing, like you mentioned, right? Numbing and running. And it worked until it didn't work. You know, it doesn't work. And I tried. And the first thing I did was completely honest about what I was doing, who I was with, what I was into, and being honest, like just always being honest, is like it's like taking a deep breath. You're just like, I even when I first met my husband, like I think he was really tacky. He's like, who is this person? Because I just said things. He was like, I'm not here. Like I'm not going to put on a representative for you. Like, you take it or leave it. Amazing. You are lucky with me, and I don't care if you don't want. And he was like, "What are you?" And so, even with my kids, I just think about like a situation recently where I had a lot going on, and I overreacted at the moment. And then it's so nice to be able to go back and be like, you know what? Like, I messed up. I said these
Mm-hmm.
things. I didn't mean to say these things. I'm really sorry. Let's do a do-over, right? Like, let me address that a different way, because, it's not excuses, and I'm sorry. So it's so nice to even just be honest with your kids and be vulnerable.
Yeah.
This first time. I've never been a parent before. I've been doing this in the moment, learning as I go, like all of us, right? I'm going to make mistakes, and I'm allowed to make mistakes, and I'm allowed to admit that I made those mistakes to my kids and verbal. So
Yes.
it's such a beautiful part of recovery is honesty.
Yes. Yes. All of that. Yes. And I think you've spoken a lot recently. I was checking out some of your social media posts around perfection versus excellence, right? And so that whole idea of we're not freaking perfect. I've never parented before a 16-year-old, 13-year-old, 10-year-old. This is new. We're
Yep.
figuring it out as we go. And I think to model for our children that we aren't perfect. We're doing our best, and all we ask is that they do their best. I think it's such a part too, and I really tune into this, of just breaking generational chains, breaking generational traumas. I think about my own family of origin on both my mother and my father's side, and just how, whether it's alcohol that has wreaked havoc, or whether it's not talking about things, keeping secrets, the opposite of honesty, right? We don't talk about that. We don't talk about it. We don't touch it. We don't touch it.
No, everything's fine here. Everything's good.
Yes. And that charade does not last. Okay. Eventually the jig is up, and then the future generations bear the brunt of it. Like, somebody has to look at it. Somebody has to say, hey, this actually doesn't work. And so how can we shift that? I remember for me, Tracy, I had a total run, like me and alcohol, where we were super close. And we started our relationship first weekend freshman year of high school. Okay. That's where we kicked it off. And to me, it was also kind of the ticket to the popular crowd. It's like, it's kind of like Insta popularity, if you can kind of like do this thing. And I knew on my dad's side of the family history of alcoholism. My dad did not drink because his father was an alcoholic, and it really wreaked havoc on the family. But I thought, well, like, that's his deal. And I had my whole way with it. But as I started, getting older and realizing, and that this is just a great conversation to have, because I know we have people tuning in who maybe are contemplating this for themselves, or maybe are also sober. I have a lot of people in my world are sober. A lot of my clients, you tend to attract who you are.
Yep.
But it's just really good to think about how whatever you're putting into your body, alcohol, food, people around you, their energy, how it's making you feel. And so that opportunity to deconstruct and get honest with yourself in a lot of different areas will change your life. And for those of you who are called to write books about some of that, which Tracy's done, I've done, a lot of people in my world who have done this as well, this is one of the gifts we can offer the world. And so for you, Tracy, with how your work is now, like, how has the book changed the way that you show up in your business and the way that you kind of work with clients, your decision to do this, the way that you've been super out and open about this is in your path? I'm just curious about some of the changes that you personally have experienced in the way that you work and the way that you show up.
Sure. So I would say everyone, since I've been sober for to celebrate 29 years, which just sounds like crazy to say. Like, it still is overwhelming. Like, it's not like you get used to it and you're like, whatever. Like, it's still, when you celebrate an anniversary, it's still, oh my gosh.
Yes.
It's harder. And I would say that all of my clients, like, I've had my own company, as you said, for almost 20 years. All of my clients have always known I didn't drink. Some have read the book. I have a lot of repeat clients in my pharmaceutical consulting world. And it was kind of, oh, I didn't realize you didn't drink because of some like big stuff. Like, I just thought you just didn't drink. It's like, it's not like very is appropriate. But I developed a different level of respect. And I will say that for some of my peers, some people I know, actually, interestingly enough, put a little bit of a barrier. I would say that's not a me thing.
Mm-hmm.
I would say maybe there's some stuff that they're like, I didn't want to look at that for myself, maybe.
Yes.
And it's made our a little different. You can just feel. I think I've heard Jenny you talk a lot about energy. I'm also an energy person, and energy is shifted with certain people, and that's okay. And that's okay. I stand behind my truth on my book, and if I'm sad, comfortable, and I hope they know that they can always come if they are dealing with something. And people come to me and say, "Oh my gosh, can I talk to you about my brother? Can I talk to you about my cousin? My sister, whatever, my kid?
Yes.
This behavior." So it's writing the book has changed. It's changed a lot of dynamics. Also changed. It's now like a different business for me, right? Because I have like my consulting business. I have TEV consulting, pharmaceuticals, but now I have the book business. Where it's doing interviews like this. And one of the things I'm very curious about this year, and this is where we were talking off camera about that I like impact and slow. That's my goal this year. Like my New Year's resolution, if you will, is trying to find scales of balance between making an impact and moving slow. And I would say that this year I've decided to really focus in on curriculums. I have an amazing teacher in Delaware that this book, and to use it as a supplemental learning for her drug and alcohol curriculum. And the students have she's like, you can hear a pin drop when reading the book, and they are just all tuned in. And so now she's helping me work to get in our school curriculums for students, because it's like telling them stories. It's just like statistics. It's the way that she put it is you're actually like bringing a piece to the statistics. It's not just reading like a textbook. It's these are real numbers with real people that make up these numbers. And here's an example. So I feel like I have two different jobs right now. Like book job, like consulting jobs. So
right, yeah, which can be an interesting experience to hold because they seem pretty different, but you still are bringing your experience, your wisdom to just two different audiences essentially. And there could be crossover, you never know. But I find too, in my own pathway, I've had so many different careers in this one career. It's been quite an interesting road that I tend to do best when I can hold various balls. It's like, I got this one over here and I got this one. I'm also a Gemini. Okay. So I like having, it just works for me. And I think it's an important point to make with our audience that sometimes we feel like, well, I gotta stay here. I gotta stay over here. It's like, this is my little lane over here. But do you really? What else are you meant to do here? This is one life. And it goes by real fast. As this is something Tracy and I were playing around with, like, what do we want to call this episode? And I loved your reference to Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I got that. It was like, life moves pretty fast.
Yeah. That I was going to share, like, at some point.
Yes, life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around every once in a while, you might miss it. So what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? We're living in these wild times right now. And if all the things that we see are possible, what else is possible for you that is a positive, that is exciting for you? I heard you say that word, Tracy. What I'm excited about. I always encourage my clients, follow that. What is exciting to you? There's something there. And it might require you to do something super bold and share your heart and bear some stories to the world that maybe are uncomfortable to share because you're telling some parts of you that I know weren't easy to go through.
And you're absolutely right. I think that the reference I use in the book is this idea of a can, right? Like, we all have like a trash can of us that has shit, right? Like whether like it was, my alcohol neglectful father and my stepfather. And, we had to go to a sudden move because my stepfather be scary. And so I lost my house and all my stuff. And you get a lot of stuff in your trash can. And for me, the drugs and alcohol put the lid on the trash can. And it was like, and it worked until it didn't work, right? Because then the problem is that I'm using drugs and alcohol to put the lid on the trash can, but also simultaneously throwing more trash in the trash because I'm making some not so great decisions.
Right.
So then it gets fuller, so I have to use more, right, to keep the lighter. And that's true for everybody. I think it's also something when I meet people, I recognize they have a trash can. That trash can is. But
right.
if you want to unload some of that trash, and maybe it's not with everybody, but with trust, it takes less power. I mean, the trash has power.
Yes.
When you take it out of the trash and then like uncrumple the paper and look at the thing and face the thing and tell them about the thing. Because I guarantee you, somebody else has that trash, that same trash in their trash can. And then like connection with people.
Yes.
You just don't get out of it without a trash can.
Right.
So why aren't we talking about it?
Right, exactly. And this is the honesty piece and the vulnerability, the courage to share, hey, I went through this, or I'm in it right now, or do you know anyone who's gone through this, or I'm just feeling really sad or very lonely or very whatever. It's just, that was a big piece of my recovery and journey out of that former life. I didn't go I did some AA at the beginning, honestly, and I'm so grateful that you had that and it worked well for you. And I know everyone out there, there's lots of different pathways. I used some different approaches. My therapist was a game changer. A lot of the work I done, yoga was a huge part of my recovery and is still a huge part of my life. That's why I go so often, is it makes me feel good. It makes me feel good and I don't feel bad afterwards.
And those are probably like your meetings.
Those are my meetings.
Those are your meetings.
Those are my meetings. I have community there. I just love it. So everyone has to find your stuff. And then that power to be vulnerable and to share. No one here is perfect. Nobody. We all have stuff. We all have that trash, as you said, Tracy. And the more that we can bring it forth, that's why I do so much of my work. I bring women together in these powerful conversations. So most of my work is group work with women. It's like group. So, yeah. It's like incredible women leaders. We come in, we talk about their creative projects. We talk about what's going on because everything touches everything. If we think like, oh, my personal life's totally separate from my work. No, it's not. No, it's not. Everything touches everything. The more we can talk about it and untangle it and be like, why do I even have this in my trash can anymore? Like, I'm freaking recycling this. Like, I am shredding it. The earth is going to take it. Like, there's so many options. I want to dig into this point you made, because I know there's some really interesting places we can go here around this whole idea of slowing down to make a greater impact, to make a bigger impact, a deeper impact. So how has this been showing up for you this year? How have you been playing with this idea of slowing down, being more intentional about the impact that you're making?
Yes, thank you for asking about that, because it's been really hard and really exciting at the same time. So I last book launched, and also, it's just a totally different career, right? Like,
right.
And also just like, where was the book going? Was this book going to family members? Was this book going to people in recovery? Was this book going to people that should recovery? I'm very excited. I had some really big rehab purchase the bookshelves, which is like, I think that's a huge compliment. But it was so much, and I was like, I don't put the book out there, and then I was like, what? And it just felt crazy. It felt like chaos. And my husband was really funny. At one point, he said to me, if I was to your to-do list, and you had 14 things on your to-do list, every single one would have a number one next to it. Number one. Like he's like, you can't decide what's most important. You're just kind of spiraling. And so when I approached this year, I thought, all right, this is right. And I think that's the first goal, right? For me, the first step, right? And said there's something
right.
going. accept is that this isn't working. It's making me feel crazy, taking away energy from my family. And so what do I want to do? It was really nice to slow down. And I think that's important. I think actually you did a podcast on it recently about the use of white space. I think you called it. And I started to, and if I'll say this, the white space and the silence in the city is so hard.
Yes.
I am a doer. I'm a fighter. I am a make it happen. I'm people call me the closer. I'm the closer. And it was like just sitting there for a couple weeks of just like letting things, had the silence enough to let things come up was hard. And then that's when the idea of the curriculum came up. I thought, what has really hit me? What's really excited? Use the word, what is really hit me? Wow, really? And when I got this idea of like, what if this book is preventative?
Yes.
I did not write it that in mind. And I thought, that makes me feel alive. That makes me closer to that. And so that's when I decided I'm really going to of course I'm doing, when people reach out for podcasts or interviews or whatever, of course I'm going to take them up. I'm just going to slow down and focus on something that I really feel like it can make an impact. And I will say that I feel better.
Yeah.
And like I have a goal, but I'm not, there's less urgency in it. And that's really nice. It feels
not frantic.
Where am I running? Where am I running?
Like, why am I going so fast? Where's the prize? You're hurting yourself, and it's deconstructing. It's so much conditioning that you have to deconstruct. And I think that's why the sobriety journey has been such a trip, like literally such a trip, because you deconstruct everything. You start seeing, just beware. It's positive, but it's also painful. You don't have the wool over the eyes anymore. It's like, oh, and that's what yoga does for you as well. So it's like, I got double whammy over here. But you see everything. You see everything. But what you've got to understand, and what Tracy just brought to the table, is it is uncomfortable and you can handle it. You can handle it. And that's what you realize about yourself. You absolutely can handle it. You have new tools to be able to work with, where it's, sitting and not just filling your life. It was kind of like you've filled ourselves with the liquid, with the substance, to avoid a feeling, an uncomfortable feeling. And then when you're still sitting in here, even when you're sober, and you have this uncomfortable feeling of like, oh my gosh, I'm not filling my schedule with 18,000 things and my to-do list overflowing, so I feel so important and like busy. And then you just sit with that and then allow that feeling of discomfort. It will eventually wash over you. You don't sit in it forever. And then you get into some spaciousness and some peace. And then you tap into that feeling of, I feel alive, this curriculum thing. I wasn't why I wrote the book initially, but I see it. And if it can play a role in preventing someone from going through what you went through, what I went through in my own way, then sign me up.
It's exactly right. And without silence, I don't would have seen that answer. The stillness, that aha moment kind of popped into my head.
Yes.
And that was like, that's what I'm going to do. And then that was my goal. Again, I don't want to say resolution. My joke is, I always say to my husband, I think I'm not going to drink. That's I always really say that. He's like, oh, like,
something else. Go further. Stretch yourself.
You're like, I'm going to try to find that balance in impact and slow.
And
it's hard. Like, it was hard. It was definitely like very weird. I had a lot of negative talk when I was kind of in I would say it was like maybe a 3 to 4 week kind of period where I'm really just not.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say I'm lucky to be in a position to do that, right? That I was like, I'm not going to take a project because I'm right. So I'm not going to take a project for a few weeks. I'm not going to be on media. I'm not going to, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like a lot of like lazy. What are you doing? You're not contributing. Like, and it was so. But it is uncomfortable. But the beauty lies beyond the discomfort.
Yes.
Nothing ever learned has been easy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. The best lessons have been hard fought. And we live in this society where it's like instant, instantly you can get it and it's here, like within a few hours. You want that, have it now. And so it's like this delusion that, well, you don't even have to work that hard. You just click a button and like, you're good. And that honestly is what alcohol was, pretty instant,
Yeah.
into social drugs, like instant. It's like instant. But there's other ways to do it. And there's beauty in getting a bit uncomfortable. And there's so much peace on the other side. It's fascinating. When I went through yoga teacher training, because yoga is a huge part of my life. And I was still drinking a bit back then. But once I got into yoga, I felt so good. I just didn't even have time to feel like crap. And my body was basically sending me signs like, okay, this doesn't work. This doesn't work. You don't feel good afterwards. It was like a rejection. It was a rejection of this toxin that I was putting into my body. And I was finally waking up to that message. And we had our graduation ceremony for our 3-month powerful yoga experience. We're all, teachers now. I looked over at one of the gals. I wrote about this in my book, actually. There's a whole scene in my book. I wrote my book. I called it like memoir mixed with medicine. And so it was stories from my life mixed with the lesson, and then kind of weaving into that and giving action steps, me being a coach.
Kind of like memoir self kind of.
Yes, it was a combo. It was super hard to write, but so liberating. And I have a scene in the book about this graduation. And there was a woman I went through the program with, and I know she was, a former addict. And I looked over and I was like, this is the feeling, right? Like this was the feeling that we were chasing, and it's here right now. And we are sober, and we are here in this beautiful moment together. And we moved our body, and we sweated, and we chanted. It was like we were so embodied, and it was so empowering. And it was just this wonderful reminder to me that we can have this feeling. We're all wanting it. We want to feel connected. We want to feel love. We want to feel joy. Like, really ask yourself, what is the feeling that you are chasing, that you are desiring, and know that you can have it, you can achieve it, and you don't need a substance, something that literally you're going to feel hungover, you're going to feel like crap, you probably are going to do some stuff that you regret to achieve that feeling. And I think it's important that we, talk about this, Tracy. You did it in your book. I did it in ways in my book too. And I think there's a powerful reclamation of our own power, especially as women and women leaders. When we discuss this, when we talk about, hey, there's other ways to live, lead, operate, it has major implications on families, on businesses, on all the things that we can do with this life.
Yes, the ripple is huge. Yes.
It's huge.
In terms of when you make that decision, when you were thinking about your story, the quote, one of the quotes that I love popped into my head, and it was, feeling good feels good.
Yes.
Feeling good. And like, once you get there, you're like, oh, I don't actually put this crap in my body, whether that's alcohol, food, unhealthy, whatever it is.
Yes. Whatever the thing is.
But you got to get there, right? Because and feeling good isn't like it's going to happen overnight, right? It's not an instant. You cannot order Amazon.
No.
You're going to have to dig through the trash and in the space, and you will, like, you get there. And that's one of the quotes I do love from AA, which is, don't quit, the miracle happens.
Don't quit before the miracle happens. Yes.
So you're right there.
Yes, you are right there.
And I will say, like, again, 20 years sober, I'm in a whole new stage of work, right? Like, I spent the last few months doing something new that was uncomfortable. Like just because like I haven't arrived. I think I said that to you, but like recovery isn't like a destination. Like it's a journey, like a process.
Yes.
I'm still learning. I'm still growing. I still fuck, like
Yes.
don't get
Yes.
Which is the difference.
Right. Exactly. To recognize that and to see that, and the joy is not, for me, it's not a permanent state. Like I still have those moments where I'm like, this freaking sucks. Oh my gosh, I can't deal. And so what are we going to do to get ourselves back to a place where you feel like you've got gas in the tank, you've got the charge in your battery to show up for the people and to show up for the work that you are called here for. This isn't saying like you're never going to have discomfort, you're never going to have hard stuff, or you're never going to have disappointment, you're never going to have heartbreak. I have heartbreak. There's hard stuff that happens all the time, but I feel so much more equipped to handle it. It's like to go through eyes wide open. I helped my son through something recently where a friend of his brother passed away tragically. I mean, it was like horrible, heartbreaking. And my ability to help him through that and to meet that moment and to support the family through it in the way that we could I was just so proud of myself. I was so proud of me because my sister died. I don't know if we've talked about this, Tracy, but that was, and that was where like alcohol was like a big part of my quote healing, non-healing through that. It's kind of like, yeah. And the difference between how I handled that moment and then how I handled this most recent, it's like night and day. And I'm so glad that we had this conversation, Tracy, and I'm so grateful for you and for the work that you do in 29 years. I'm about to celebrate 10 in May. So you're like 3 times what I've gone through. But I will say, and this was something I learned in kind of the AA rooms and just, through my fellow colleagues who are also sober and walking the recovery path, it really has been the journey where I've learned that I can live this life beyond my wildest dreams. That is what is here. And to say that, and also we're still going to have those hard moments, but our sobriety, our choice to meet things head on, it really helps you handle those hard moments. It just does.
Yeah.
It just does. And we're still fun, right, Tracy?
What's that?
We're still fun. We're like more fun now.
So I was just sharing with you earlier, we just got off the 80s cruise. So it's literally called the 80s cruise, and it's all 1980s. I love the 80s. I referenced, my book has a lot of nostalgia throughout it, 1980s, 90s. And, my husband and I go on this cruise, a week cruise every year. Every theme night where we dress up in crazy costumes, and I'm not drinking a drop, and I'm having a great time, and I'm dancing and being ridiculous, and it's wonderful. When to a point where you feel it feels good, you don't want it, and you're just like, I can just be as weird as I want to do whatever I want, and just not have alcohol, instigating that. And it's a great place to be. One other way to say about you sharing about working through that situation with your son is just such beautiful modeling that showing your kids, that we're showing our kids. And that is, modeling is the most effective form of parenting. It's effective an impact form of parenting because you're watching what you do. Let's be real, right? They're not listening to what you're saying. They're watching it. And that's where that's learning. And so it's just so beautiful that you're able to model that support and empathy, and this is going to hurt and we're going to get through it.
Yes. Thank you for saying that. I'm curious. I want to ask this question. I know we're getting towards the end here. How do you talk to your kids about alcohol? Like this is because I have, some teenagers and just about the reality of you're going to have this introduced to you. And it's like, we can't pretend like they're never going to be around it and they may, make a decision. So I'm just curious how you've had those kinds of conversations with your kids about.
So I will say that entirely, like that could be its own podcast because I have
totally
so many suggestions and tips.
Yes.
Talk about running like a workshop for parents and for teens. Let's get real. Let's talk about what doesn't work.
Yes.
All that. But the short answer is I'm honest about my experience.
Yes.
I work I say to my older daughter, 17, and I say to her, I will never tell you, not go to a party. I just want to know kind of where you're going, and what, who are you with, and what's your exit plan.
Okay.
The other thing that I work her on is how to say no. You need to have at least four different practiced say no comments ready to go. And you can't just them. You need to literally practice them with your kid. And whether it's with them or they're practicing with a friend, I know my daughter practiced it with one of her friends. Whether it's, I got to get up early for us, like, no thanks. Or I even said, Frank, lie. Be like, oh, I've done that and I felt like shit, like, no thanks. Whatever makes the person go away. So like have practiced comments that they can respond to. And again, just have like an exit plan. But I always, if you tell a kid no, you can't, what's the first thing they're going to do? You're going to go run and do that thing.
Exactly.
So by taking away some of the sexiness of it, by me being like, absolutely, go to the party. Who are you? When can I expect you home? What's your exit plan? Yeah. She goes, and a lot of times, half the time, she's like, I don't really want to go to the party. Because I'm like, fine.
Yes.
And she knows my history as well. And so I think that for her, kind of like your dad, his dad, I think that for her has made her like, I don't really know. Like, I got my mom's blonde hair. Did I also get her alcoholism?
Right.
I don't know.
Exactly.
I can't tell you what to do. I can just share my experience, my concerns, and let you need to make your own decision.
Yes.
Giving her that responsibility and that trust that she's going to good decisions. She does.
Yes. Love that. Yeah, I've been taking a similar approach with my kids, and I'm very honest about, I had this background and it was pretty wild, and here's the reality, and just helping them know they're going to be in those situations, and here's how to make decisions. I love having some responses ready. Towards the end of my drinking journey, when I realized like I can't drink hard liquor, I was like, hard liquor out, and then I was eventually just eliminating. I would just tell people I'm allergic. You know what? I am allergic to shots. I realize they just do not work. Hey, you go at it. But because I really felt like I was like, I think I am allergic to this. My body is like saying, oh, hell no, we cannot do this any longer. So it's just figuring it out and then moving on. It's just moving on. It's moving on. Thank you so much for that. And I think it would be powerful to do some kind of, workshops. And it's so important to have these conversations because lives can be destroyed by alcohol, like destroyed. And it's prevalent, drunk driving, whatever it is, it's everywhere. And it's, unless you're blind, it's everywhere. And you have to see it. It breaks my heart. There was a story over the summer and I'm like heartbroken by it. These two brothers, one was a professional hockey player, was an NHL player, and his brother, the night before their sister was getting married, they were hit by a drunk driver. They were riding their bikes in New Jersey. Freaking A. Like, it was destroyed. Both the wives were pregnant. Like, it was kind of the worst story that it could be. And all because of alcohol. Like, what was it? Alcohol. Okay. Like, call a spade. And it doesn't have to be this way. It does not have to be this way. Once we dismantle the pedestal that alcohol has been on and just look at, you guys, if you're going to drink, do it responsibly. Don't freaking drive. Don't, like, really, this has got
right. Exactly. Like Lyft, like, I mean, my neighborhood jokingly calls me Rosedale Uber, like on my street. Like, they're like, Rosedale Uber leaving. And I'm like, I can leave at 7, guys. And like, I drive everyone. It's fine. Like, I'm happy to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, let's just please have full control of your mind and make the most intelligent choices for yourselves. I think if there's one takeaway from this conversation is just use your brain. Your brain is beautiful, and be really smart about your decisions. That's what my sobriety has allowed me to do. Is I feel like I'm not perfect. I still make some decisions like, oh, probably could have made a different one there. But I aim to make the most intelligent decisions, the most loving decisions that I can, so that I can live a long life. I can be a model to my kids, to my clients, to
Yep.
that's it. And it sounds like that's what you've been able to do, Tracy. Y'all pick up her book, Pretty Wrecked. Tracy is incredible. The writing, I flew through it. Like it was hard to stop a chapter. You're like, oh my gosh, there was kind of this, you did a good job, but like kind of cliffhanger. You're like, oh, no, what's the next thing?
I know, because you're like, oh my God, you're not going to do that next, is she?
Yeah, exactly.
I did. It's a story.
It was a smart writing choice. Where can people find you online, Tracy? Where do you want to take them?
Sure. So everything is Tracy Viola author. So Instagram, it's at Viola author. Facebook, same at Tracy Viola author. My website, tracyviolaauthor.com. My book is available in paperback, ebook, and audio. All audiobook everywhere, whether like Spotify or Google, whatever it is. Audible. So it's, if you search Pretty Wrecked or if you search Viola author, you'll find me.
Love that. Did you narrate your own audiobook?
It's me talking. There's some chapters where someone I was working with was like that was beautiful. But we need to record it because you were very emotional. You know, I was like it was very hard.
Yes.
And so a couple chapters, a couple paragraphs. Like it was, can we do it with emotion? Like I didn't understand.
Right. Falling, you were heaving.
It is me. I did narrate a book, so
well done, Tracy. Well, I am so glad that we had this conversation today. I celebrate you. Celebrate your willingness to share your story, to share what was in that trash can, and to finally say, I'm taking the freaking lid off and I'm choosing a different path. It takes a tremendous amount of courage.
It can be done. So if anybody's listening and feels like they've got too much trash in their trash can, listen, it's just one piece at a time. You're not gonna, I don't recommend dumping that over.
Yes.
Like kind of last one day at a time, like, right, 20 years, 10 years. At the end of the day, it's one day at a time. You don't get there one day at a time. And so it's one piece of trash at a time, one like little awareness at a time, one decision at a time. And little by what I love, little by little becomes a lot.
Yes.
Little by little becomes a lot. Just start somewhere.
Yeah. Start somewhere. And the other piece too, and this was a part of, or I felt like we were talking about the art of becoming, is little by little, day by day, hour by hour. There's one of my favorite quotes comes from the Velveteen Rabbit. It doesn't happen all at once. You become. It takes a long time. So we are all becoming. This isn't an insta fix. We don't push the button and then all of a sudden we're there. It's not how it works. And that's why it's really good to step back and watch that a lot of what you see out there isn't really real. Like this is real. This is about being real. And it's freaking hard work. And it is so, so worth it. It doesn't happen all at once. You become. It takes a long time. So Tracy's still becoming. I'm still becoming. We'll still be becoming until we take our last breath. And isn't that beautiful?
And it's the journey that helps with the gratitude of when you do kind of step into something new or learn something or change something. Without the work, you win the gratitude. If you could just push a button and fix it, you're there. And then you probably just want, and then you want,
yes,
right? Yes. Like I'm good just being right here.
Yeah.
I'm here. I don't need to, again, I get off, I got off the train, train. I'm
yeah, exactly. Well, that's the root of the addiction. The addiction is like needing more and needing more and needing more. And so this, when you dismantle that and you recognize, oh, there's actually a real beauty in just being here now, becoming, layering things on, layering beautiful things that bring you joy. And final tip here for everybody, just be very intentional about who you keep in your circle, right, Tracy?
Yep.
Who you allow in. And if you choose to let go of certain habits or certain ways, you likely will shift some of the people who are in your life.
Yeah, that's okay. People can go. You know, I had to really kind of redo all of my friendships recovery, and then be careful about who I let in. Early sobriety, you have to be careful about who feels safe, who doesn't feel safe.
Yes.
And then it grows, right? And now, I mean, I can beer and alcohol doesn't bother me. I can be around drinking all that stuff, but it's a mess. It's becoming, and so be aware that there are people that maybe realize kind of like what do they say, like energy vampires, right? Like kind of like
yes,
kind of you.
yes.
So are people filling you or emptying you? I think
Taking.
that's
Exactly. People, places, things. That is a great way for us to wrap this up. Are you being filled or are you being depleted? Be super intentional about that. If you want to make this impact, and I know you all do, that's what you're here for, then you got to make some bold choices. Thank you all for tuning in today. This has been incredible. Thanks again to Tracy. Y'all go get her book or share it with somebody in your world who you feel can benefit from this message. This is mission critical topic. It's something that I'm really dedicating myself to being able to talk about. And it's important to have things in your world where this is a hill that I am going to stand on, put my stake in the ground, because we've lived it. We're living it right now. And I look forward to where we all go from here. It's Jenny Fennick for Coach Magic. Keep making smart choices. Keep shining that gorgeous light of yours. And I will see you all again soon. Be well.